5 months ago, I made a video about The Last of Us, practically begging HBO to not mess it up. Turns out all 74 of their members actually watched that video, and they listened. They made the show actually great. So we are, as of recording this video, at the 6th episode of the show, and by far, I've been satisfied with almost every aspect of it, with a few things not being up to the mark here and there, but that's nothing compared to the shit that we've been getting recently in the form of game adaptations. Now it just feels intentional. Well, I mean, at this point, I think it is kind of intentional to put as much cringe as it is humanly possible in a show. I mean, how else are you gonna call yourself woke? So yeah, The Last of Us is like a breath of fresh air. It is true that if you stick to the source material, it's automatically infinitely better than what the others were doing. The story of The Last of Us, as I have stated in this video, is kind of really great for TV because of the narrative foundation that already comes with it. Sure, there are setbacks of adapting a game story into a show, as it's heavily dependent on the player getting to spend a good amount of time exploring the world and getting to know the characters more through in-game dialogues. But that can be overcome, if not fully, to an extent, with clever use of cinematography and editing, something like what we saw in The Last of Us. In many instances, the show does a great job at making us feel what the characters on the screen are feeling, like in this scene. The emphasis put on Ellie's expression right after Henry shoots himself by not cutting to black unlike the game is what helps sell the emotion even more. It's simple decisions like this that are helping the show tremendously. We lose some of the magic the story had in the form of a game, but at the same time, we gain something very important, which is getting to know the other characters even more. Something that makes a world feel alive is its people. Other than just the protagonist, there's a huge emphasis on different characters this time, and an entire episode celebrating the relation between Frank and Bill, ending with a harmonious blend of love and sacrifice, as opposed to their dark and sad ending in the game. This time they show a little bit more of Marlene and Ellie and how much they know and care about each other. Following the source material is surely a safe path to walk, but the creative decisions taken here are working out perfectly in favor of the story, giving itself the enhancement that it truly needed. Pedro Pascal as Joel Miller and Bella Ramsey as Ellie definitely started out rough, but are working wonders now. Joel is a classic example of a tough guy with a soft heart. No matter how hard he tries to suppress his emotions, it's only a matter of time before they start leaking through his words or expressions. He has always been tough, but losing Sarah made him who he is today. Tough as shell, filled with guilt, but with time it just gets harder to keep them in. And eventually it starts to show. And it makes Joel look weak, like he isn't made for this world. In fact, no one is. But it's here, and it's our fault. So is it truly an act of kindness to save what's left of it? That's a question that Joel asks himself at the most crucial time of his life, and by the end, we get our answer. It might not be the most ethical, but in a sense, it's also not cruel. And it's certainly the one that we as the audience wanted. All of these emotions, it's not something just a tough guy can show, and that makes Pedro one of the best people to play Joel. Sure, these are things that have not yet been shown in the show yet, but I think it's really predictable that he's going to nail it. I mean, Neil, the co-creator of the show, even said the beauty of what Pedro is doing on the show is that he's suppressing all that and he's not revealing it. Then, when it comes out in little bits and pieces as Ellie draws it out of him, it becomes these really compelling moments of humanity that you see it slowly emerge. I think anyone can play a 14-year-old teenage girl with a bit of humor, but Bella just steals the show with Ellie. She's quirky, constantly bothering Joel with the most outlandish puns and jokes, knows how to get along with people.
What?
Well, maybe not everyone. One of the best Joel and Ellie moments came around at like the end of episode 4, where she actually manages to make him crack up pretty hard. And that scene kind of cements the fact that Ellie is starting to grow on him. Maybe not as much like a daughter. Yet. The world of The Last of Us is beautiful in its own way. It embraces the beauty in horror. The sheer contrast between the overtaking of fungus compared to the chaos created by those who are still alive and fighting to get by is beautiful. The world is unlike anything I have ever seen in a show before. It's supposed to be this post-apocalyptic world where no matter which side you choose, it's still hell to live in. But as we follow the characters and travel through it, in all its beauty, it looks even better than what it used to be. Sure, there is an ever-present feeling of dread and terror when Joel and Ellie pulls over the vest and spend the night, or each time they set foot into one of those abandoned buildings, especially when you know that there's probably someone living or hiding in there. The world of The Last of Us reminds me of that of Annihilation. It's the closest it comes to in terms of emotions. The world of Annihilation on the surface is nothing but consuming, but as we progress through the story, it is revealed that it's actually not trying to destroy anything. In fact, it's making something new. It's changing the attributes of what already exist. The striking and gorgeous sight of something being taken over by fungus is really hard to miss. There's just nothing quite like it. It's alien in one world and nature in the other, yet they have the same goal. Animals are seen throughout the journey. For Ellie, it's a monkey or a giraffe, and for Lena, it's a mutated deer, something that none of them have seen before. While animals in movies or shows or even games are used as a part of its environment, it can also be used as a bridge that connects the characters to a world that they know little to nothing about. The meaning behind the giraffe in The Last of Us seems to represent the idea of innocence in such devastating times, similar to how the mutated deer in Annihilation represents the beauty of the invasive nature of the threat. I know the giraffe scene has not yet been shown, so let's just hope it's coming soon. If you like watching videos like this, then please subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot to me. Take care of yourself and I'll see you in the next video.